So today, well, first, Natty B After Cancer. Before we go any further, if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you hit that subscribe button below. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone who has watched so far. YouTube for me is simply about educating as it relates to the breast cancer journey and some fun at the same time. So I really appreciate everyone who's been watching so far and who's shown support. It has not gone unnoticed. Guys, I am 4 months locked. 4 months last Friday as of May 1st, and I'm super excited about my lock journey. And you know, it's weird because when I first started my locks, one of the thoughts I had, I was like, if my cancer ever comes back, I'm going to lose my locks. And I think that's what's kept me before from starting, is this really anxiety-driven idea that, you know, if my cancer comes back, I will lose my locks. But then I was like, but why am I thinking that way, right? Don't project, don't put that out into the universe. You know, I believe in the power of the tongue and speaking things into existence. So, F it. I started my locks. My mom is a loctician. My mom has been doing locks since probably before I was born. And I'm just now starting my locks and on my lock journey. So yes, 4 months locked. But anyway, the purpose of today's video is to talk about things they forgot to tell me as it relates to chemo. And have you guys organize my jewelry with me, my accessories. I love my accessories. I don't go anywhere without accessories, except probably the mailbox and Walmart and Target. So I just thought it would be nice for you guys to kind of see what my accessories look like, and have you guys organize my chokers with me today. So as you can see, back here are the majority of my earrings, and I'll show you guys the majority of my longer necklaces, and here we're going to organize my chokers, and then I'll show you guys some other things as well. So but before we do that, I'm going to show you guys what I'm wearing today. I'm going to wrap my hair up, so I'll probably do that with you guys as well. Today I am honestly obviously I'm working from home. My room looks so junky right now. Please ignore that. Well, clawfus looks so junky. But I've been working from home, and that's been one of the positive things about quarantine, is that it has allowed me, again, to work from home, but to also have time to put out more content and really start a morning routine, which has been amazing. My friend Lindsay is a yoga instructor, and watching her has really inspired me to really get my body moving in a different way. I'm so used to lifting weights, or, you know, running on a treadmill, or, you know, kickboxing or Zumba, as a Zumba instructor myself, and yoga is something that I've always struggled with because I'm such a fast-paced person that yoga was too slow for me. But this is honestly the true first time that I've been able to really slow down, and I have done yoga every single morning for the last 2.5 weeks, and it has been phenomenal. So yeah, so I am just really in my comfy clothing and a halter top. That's basically it. And one of my favorite pants. These are just, I mean, this is honestly how I prefer to dress. If I could dress like this every single day, I would. I'm all about flowy, comfortable, tight, not necessary. Okay, let's do this first. Is that better? Okay, let's get started. When I first started, let me try this again. One of the things that, you know, she did tell me is that obviously everyone's body is different, and so I may have some symptoms that other people won't have. And when you, before you start chemo, they send you to a chemo class. It's really not much of a class, honestly. They kind of just slide you a book, slide you some papers, and they walk you through the chemo room. I had 2 options to choose from as far as where I was going to have chemo, and it's one of my favorite necklaces, and I honestly don't even wear it that much, but yeah, they walk you through And I had 2 places that I could choose from to do chemo. The place that I actually had my chemo class, I didn't feel comfortable in that space. For some reason, when we walked in, I was just like, I'm just not feeling it in here. It was very small, it was tight, it was choked up, and knowing how emotional I already was, I didn't want to have to go anywhere to receive this poison into my body and feel claustrophobic either. And that chemo class, I was expecting that they were going to educate me on the probabilities of, you know, symptoms that are highly likely, minimally likely, and very rare, but could also happen. And I think the ones that dangle a little bit longer need to go towards the bottom. Oh, this is one of my favorites. It's probably one of the ones I wear the most. I'll show you guys what this looks like on. So I knew about, you know, typical symptoms of chemo: nausea, headaches, body pain, bone aches, you know, things like that, things that you hear about, but you've also read about. What they did not tell me, one of the early symptoms I had, so, and I apologize, I keep going back and forth, I'm really just rambling in this video, but I was on a regimen called AC plus T. And I forgot what the AC stands for, but it's like a rimacidin and something. And then the T stands for Taxol. So I had 4 rounds of the AC bi-weekly, and then I had 12 rounds of the Taxol every week. It was over a 24-week span. Let me tell you guys, I think it was by my 3rd AC treatment or my 4th, my tongue turned black. Like legitimately, my entire tongue turned black. And it was gradual in the sense that one day my tongue looked darker, and I thought maybe it was something that I ate. And then I woke up the next day and my tongue was black. It was like as black as this shirt. So I remember I had chemo like 2 days after I noticed it, and I showed it to my onc nurse. And I haven't worn this in a while. And her response to me was, "Oh yeah, that happens sometimes." And I'm like, and no one thought to warn me? And she was like, "Yeah, it happens sometimes, but it only happens to those of African descent. So African Americans, Hispanics, like melanated people are the only ones that experience it." And so I was like, "Well, what is this? What is it called?" And she was like, "It's either, you can either call it mapping or just my tongue turned black." So I remember going onto Google trying to find mapping, and I remember having a hard time finding it, and I think it's because it's a term that's not necessarily coined for that. And listen, y'all, when I tell you my tongue was so dark, I just refused to smile. Like, I wouldn't smile in pictures. When I was talking to people, I was very conscious, and a lot of people actually don't realize that my tongue was black. I was just very mindful. I don't think, even when I was at work, I was very mindful not to like laugh, like ha 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 ha. Here are a couple of just regular gold chokers. If you are going through chemotherapy and your tongue does start to turn black, don't be freaked out. It is something that can happen. I wish I would have known ahead of time, because then I wouldn't have stared in a mirror for almost 48 hours trying to figure out what was going on in my mouth. The other symptom, which was honestly, just thinking about it was the worst. Neuropathy is basically when you experiencing, I'll just put it in lay terms, it's like this really uncomfortable tingling and pinning sensation in parts of your body. So typically your hands and your feet, which I did experience. What I had never heard of and no one had ever mentioned is neuropathic itching. Guys, that was the worst, and I don't wish it upon my enemy. I literally remember crying and intentionally overdosing myself with Benadryl so that I could fall asleep, knock myself out for a couple of days if I could, just so that I would not feel the neuropathic itching. So what that experience is like, let me see how I can describe that. Oh guys, check this out. I love this piece. Now, the last time I wore this piece was to my friend's, their baby shower. And this is actually an Aldo piece. You guys see that? So the neuropathic itching, like I keep mentioning, I worked throughout chemo, and I remember on one instance, I experienced neuropathic itching, I think, about, let's drop this a little bit lower. So during that time, I was doing a 3-day training, or I was leading a 3-day training at work. And I would be standing in front of, you know, staff and the projector, and my hands would start itching. And it would start like on the inside of my fingers, and then it would just progress, and then it would go, and the itching never passes my wrist. I don't start, you know, typically when you start itching, it's like the rest of your body starts to itch, and all of a sudden you want to scratch everywhere. It's not like that with neuropathic itching. It literally stops at your wrist. You don't feel itchy anywhere else. And so I would try my best to, you know, kind of be, you know, slick about it so people don't really see, and then I'd start itching. And if I had a co-trainer in the room, they would beg me. They're like, Natasha, go home and rest. It is okay. We've got this. But I was so stubborn because I wanted to work to keep my mind off of it. The way that I processed it, if I went home, I would be by myself itching anyway. And my husband would, you know, because my husband was at work, you know, for a few hours before he got home. And so I processed it as I might as well be here working instead of being at home crying. But there were a few times where it got so bad that I had to leave work. I had no choice. So the best way that I can describe it is, and I hope I don't freak anyone out, but it honestly feels like you have a bunch of bugs in like the lowest layer of your skin, and they're tapping. It feels like they're tapping away at your skin, and like they're trying to push through the surface, but it's a bunch of them. And oh, it just, and it's so frustrating, but it feels like pins as well, so it's also painful. And so I would rush home, I would chug down Benadryl, I would curl up in a ball, and I would cry myself to sleep. And I would cry, and I would rock, and I would cry, and I would rock until I fell asleep. And then by the time I woke up, it would be better again. But I would experience those flare-ups at least once every like week and a half. So this piece I have had forever, probably since I was like 14. This is one of my newer pieces. Kind of dainty choker. Ow! The other thing, acne. Acne, 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 acne! I don't remember where I got this. Okay, this is where we are. Even though I think I could have done a better job of organizing it, I know I could have done a better job of organizing it. This is where we are. I'm just gonna show you guys my earrings again. The lighting's pretty bad. And then here are my longer necklaces. And then over here is where I keep my rings. And I'm sorry, I do feel like this video today is probably going to be a bit dark. Yeah, but acne, I mean, my skin, I've never had great skin. I've always been acne prone. So I'm not blaming chemo for like creating something that was never there, because I've dealt with acne my entire life. But listen, the kind of acne that I was dealing with, or I've dealt with pimples my entire life. But this one was a whole different ball game. I'm talking about like the cystic, painful, it looks like a mosquito bite kind of acne. I remember asking my oncologist, like, is this normal? And he was like, oh yeah. And anyway, and I'm still dealing with that. But the reason that I'm dealing with it still after chemotherapy is more so because of the hormonal therapy that keeps me in menopause. And because I'm in menopause and my hormones are being messed with, I just, in general, it's changing the, my chemical and biological makeup. And so those are the main 3 things that they totally forgot to tell me. And my camera is crooked. I really wish they would have, then I wouldn't have been as freaked out. But out of all those 3, the acne, the neuropathic itching, and the mapping, aka my tongue turning black, the neuropathic itching was the worst. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope I didn't keep you guys here for too long. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you check out my other videos. And Natty B After Cancer, until next time.